When was the last time that your brand evolved? If your answer is years ago, or worse, never, you could be at risk at falling behind. In today's fast-changing world, what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. Brands that don't evolve risk becoming irrelevant, no matter how strong they once were. Take Kodak, for example. They were a giant in the photography industry, so much that they invented the first digital camera. But their failure to embrace that technology left them scrambling while competitors surged ahead. Today, we're going to explore why brands stagnate, what it costs you, and how you can keep your brand relevant without losing its identity. So let's get started right now. Let's break down why brands become stagnant. It's not because companies don't care, it's often the result of common pitfalls. The first is fear of alienating your loyal customers. This is one of the biggest reasons why companies resist change. They worry that updating their visuals, messaging, or offerings will upset their core audience. But in reality, customers often appreciate when a brand evolves with them. The second is internal resistance to change. Within many organizations, there's a tendency to stick with what's familiar. Leaders may think, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But in branding, staying still is often the same as falling behind. And the third is failure to monitor trends. Brands that aren't actively tracking market shifts or customer preferences are risking being blindsided. Trends don't wait for anyone, and ignoring them can make your brand feel out of touch. So what happens when your brand is stagnant? The consequences can be severe. First is loss of market relevance. Competitors who are more innovative will capture attention and market share, leaving your brand in the dust. Think of brands like Blockbuster, which failed to adapt to streaming technology and was overtaken by Netflix. The second is customer disconnect. When your brand no longer reflects your audience needs, values, or tastes, they stop identifying with it. And once they stop identifying with your brand, they'll stop choosing it. And the third is missed growth opportunities. By sticking with outdated strategies, you risk missing out on new markets, products, or partnerships that could drive growth. In many cases, stagnation isn't just about losing, it's about failing to win when you could. The good news, keeping your brand relevant doesn't require a complete overhaul. Small, intentional changes could go a long way. Let's walk through the 5 steps to future-proof your brand. Step number 1, conduct a brand audit. Start by evaluating every aspect of your brand. Look at your visuals. Does your logo feel outdated? What about your messaging? Does it still resonate with today's audience? You can also survey your customers to get direct feedback on how they perceive your brand. Step number 2, research market trends and competitors. Stay ahead of the curve by keeping an eye on what's happening in your industry. Use tools like Google Trends, social media listening, or industry reports to identify emerging preferences. Pay close attention to your competitors. What are they doing well, and where are they falling short? Step number 3, refresh your brand elements. This can mean updating your logo, refining your color palette, or modernizing your website. A refresh doesn't have to mean a total rebrand. It's about evolving while staying true to your core identity. Think about how Apple subtly updated its branding over time while keeping its design ethos intact. And step number 4, pilot new ideas. Before committing to a full rollout, test updated branding elements or strategies in smaller markets. This lets you gather data, make adjustments before you're going all in. And step number 5, maintain agility. Finally, brand evolution isn't a one-time project, it's an ongoing process. Schedule regular reviews of your branding to ensure it's keeping pace with customer expectations and market trends. Agility is key to staying relevant. Let's look at Apple as an example of a brand that knows how to evolve. When Apple launched the first iPhone in 2007, it didn't just change its product lineup, it redefined its entire identity. But Apple didn't stop there. Over the years, they've continuously updated their offerings, design language, and messaging to stay ahead of the curve. Their branding has evolved in subtle ways too. Think about their minimalistic packaging, their clean website design, and even the slight tweaks in their logo over time. These updates show that Apple isn't afraid to adapt, but they always stay true to their core promise, innovation and simplicity. That's how they maintained their relevance and dominance for decades. Brand stagnation is one of the biggest risks in today's fast-moving markets. It's also entirely preventable. By auditing your brand, monitoring trends, refreshing your elements, and staying agile, you can keep your brand relevant and connected with your audience. The brands that succeed are the ones that grow with their customers, not away from them. So if you feel like your brand has been standing still for far too long, now is the time to take the first step towards evolution. Small changes today can make all the difference tomorrow.